be back with part 2 of our questions from Healthy You conference.
And the reason we're doing this is during the conference, we had a lot of questions that we just couldn't get to. And Dr. Sue is going to be covering women's health and libido.
We're going to be talking about some sensitive material. So if you have some young listening ears in the room, you might want to get them busy in other parts of the house. We had a really good turnout for the first Healthy You conference. The link to the talk that I did on low libido will be right up there on that card, so just hit that. If you've never subscribed to our channel, please do so. We'd love it if you joined us every week. Twice a week, we post videos on integrative medical topics. And always hit that little notification bell down there so you know when our next video has been uploaded. And give this video a thumbs up. We appreciate it. Really good.
So let's start to the questions. The first question I have, why do some folks like sadism and masochism?
S&M. The real question, I think, isn't that, why do some people enjoy S&M? This deals with whips and chains and, what are those? Handcuffs and things. If you have a partner that is interested in it and you're asking because you're like, this is really not something I'm into, then always talk to them, because you two are together for a reason. So same thing when you all are intimate, you have to be open with your partner. And if you're not comfortable with something, if you're not comfortable with what they're doing, you have to say, I don't want to do it. Because otherwise, if you go ahead and do it to make them happy, you'll just end up resenting them and your libido will go down even more.
Yeah. What if my wife doesn't want sex because she thinks she has gained weight?
We're back to, you have to do tender loving care. There are a lot of men that really love their wives, pounds and all. So all of us tend to gain weight after a few children, even after one child. That woman needs to, I hope you're listening, because you need to be able to go when you have time in your home alone, get a full-length mirror. So you get a full-length mirror, take all the clothes off, and you have to look at every lump and every part of your body you don't like. All the cellulite, all the lumps, all the fat, all the unattractive parts that you think are unattractive, because your partner is telling you that you are attractive and you can't accept that for yourself. If you don't love the way your body is, you won't be able to love yourself and all the lumps and bumps that we have throughout life.
The next question was, is it okay for us not to have sex in a marriage even if we're okay with this?
So I guess the question means that you are in a marriage where you both agree not to have sex. Is that okay? Of course it's okay. You found a soulmate and both of you are on the same track. Now, it's different if one of you are wanting to have intercourse and you're not having it. That's a whole different subject. But don't compare your marriage to other marriages. Just like marriages that fight, marriages that don't fight. It doesn't mean that either marriage is bad. It depends on how you get through it. So if both of you are okay with not having sex in a marriage, of course that's all right.
The next question is, what's the difference between estradiol and biased cream?
Estradiol and biased cream. For those of you who know biased, that is a form of a compounded estrogen cream. They ask what the difference is between estradiol cream and biased cream. Estradiol cream is E2 cream, and as the name says, estradiol has a 2, so di2. It is a very good form of estrogen. E2 is an active form of estrogen, most biologically similar to the estrogen that we make in our own bodies. They make them into creams, and it's very useful for the vagina if you have problems with vaginal dryness because of the lack of estrogen, which usually happens in the menopause. We also use biased cream, which is a little bit confusing because it sounds alike. These are compounded creams, so you get these from apothecaries. Biased creams are usually made in percentages of a combination of both E2 and E3. So you're getting some of that estradiol cream I just talked to you about, and also estriol, which is E3. That's a very weak estrogen. E3 helps E2 to work. So the most common combination is that you're getting 80% of an E3 and 20% of an E2, because the E2 is a lot stronger, and that's just a good mix that we usually have women put on their inner thighs every day, usually in the morning, just for hormone replacement.
Okay, next question is a pelvic floor stimulator as beneficial as a vibrator?
This is a question referring to whenever I talked about vaginal moisture. If you're someone who does not have good libido because your vagina is very dry and it's painful, what two things cause vaginal moisture, again, are healthy blood flow and shearing stress, SHEAR, stress, which increases nitric oxide production. And in addition to the healthy blood flow, you're going to get a lot of vaginal moisture, which you need. The pelvic floor stimulator, if it's providing vibrational stress in the vaginal walls have to be have some kind of shearing type stress. So it depends on where that pelvic floor stimulator is applied. If it's vibrating and it's inside the vagina, that's going to work too. And if you remember how many minutes a day you have to put a vibrator in your vagina for it to be moist, it's 15 minutes every day. So you have to just find a good vibrator that fits in your vagina, and it should be battery operated. Those are usually easier, so you don't have to hang on to them. Just put it in, read a good book, and it's 15 minutes every day.
Okay. Next question is, does the O shot help with fecal incontinence as well as urinary incontinence?
Yes. So the O shot principle is platelet-rich plasma, and what we do is we just draw a small amount of your blood. We spin it down to the great platelet-rich plasma that you have the healing properties in your own blood. And we're injecting it in the office non-surgically to help with both urinary incontinence and fecal incontinence.
What type of fecal incontinence?
Also, I never addressed that.
If it's like from somebody with like spinal cord injuries, it's not going to help with that. So does it matter what caused the fecal incontinence?
Oh, that's actually a good point. We're talking about using PRP or platelet-rich plasma with the O-shot to help with fecal incontinence only if you're having fecal incontinence because of weakness of the muscle, just because of the weakness of it. If you've got weakness because of a neurologic problem, that's a whole different story. You've really got to talk to your neurologist. We have to figure out what the problem is. What other things were you thinking about? Oh, spinal cord
injuries. Yeah.
So if you have a spinal cord injury, that's going to be a tougher case to solve. But if your rectum is just weak just because you've got anal incontinence because of maybe childbirth injury, things like that.
Okay. Next question is, what are the estrogenic compounds or environmental toxins that we need to avoid?
Whenever we're exposed to environmental estrogens, those decrease our libido. These are things like DDE, which is a breakdown of DDI, which is a pesticide. We're talking about PCBs and BPAs. BPAs are things in plastic water bottles and also plastic containers. That's why we shouldn't be heating up our food in plastics. And also endosulfanes, which are found in pesticides sprayed on our vegetables.
All right, next question is, I don't orgasm with penetration. Is this normal? And what can I do to change this?
You know, we always see on the movies that these women are just having this great orgasm just with penile penetration alone. Not every woman has an orgasm with penetration. It's really, really important to communicate this with your partner because some men watch the same movies, so they think if you don't have an orgasm, they didn't please you enough. But a lot of women have to stimulate themselves during sex to have their own orgasm, and that's okay. Some women are able to have an orgasm with penetration. If you're someone that really wants to have an orgasm with penetration, you're either going to have to do self-stimulation to the point of having orgasm and then have your partner finish the rest so you have an orgasm through with intercourse. But most of the time, the pleasure center for you to have an orgasm is based in the clitoris. And the clitoris is not always touched by the penis or the object your partner is using during vaginal penetration. So it's important to communicate, to have fun. And lastly, if you really want to try to have more sensitivity of the clitoris, again, the O-Shot is a great option for you. Just go to www.oshot.com/info.
All right, next question is, what if you have bladder problems? How do you stop that during sex? So I guess they're referring to bladder incontinence.
Some women do leak urine during sex, and that can be quite embarrassing and also decrease our libido because we don't want to smell like urine while we're having an intimate time. Again, you have to realize this is part of life. Sometimes we have weaker bladders as we get older. So don't be embarrassed, just accept it as part of life. If you want to do something about it though, which I would recommend because no woman wants to deal with that, is I would do timed urination. So you're going to time your voiding. Every 2 hours, no matter what, you're going to go to the bathroom, even if you don't feel like it. Try to avoid drinking a lot of fluids just before intercourse, so you're not having the urge during intercourse. If you have weakness of the bladder or you have other symptoms of bladder incontinence, you do want to see a urologist and just do some basic testing to make sure you don't have an overactive bladder. If they find that you just have a weakness of your bladder control, then again, you can go to the OSHOT, www.oshot.com/info. Find out if that's a good option for you, because that does help with urinary incontinence, and it increases your pleasure during orgasm and the ability to have an orgasm.
What about surgeries for
The
urinary
surgeries,
incontinence?
you got two groups of people that could do surgery for urinary incontinence. You have urogynecologists and also urologists. Urologists deal only with urology issues. Urogynecologists deal with both gynecology and urology. Wonderful two groups. You can just kind of decide who to go to. The OSHOT's just your non-surgical approach.
All right. The next question is, are all transplant recipients candidates for IV nutrient therapy?
Yes. These are nutrients, so they're IV vitamins. Well, you want to talk
Right.
about that too.
Well, what I was going to say is I would not recommend giving any type of IV nutrients to somebody who's recently just had a transplant, or until whatever problem they had has been corrected. So you have to make sure their liver and kidney are working okay, their heart's okay before giving more fluid. So all these things have to be pretty close to a normal state before I would recommend introducing extra IV nutrients or extra fluid.
That's a really good point about the transplant kit. We actually started our IV nutrients in our office because of our dad, who had, well, it's my dad, we're married. It'd be weird if we had the same dad.
Yeah, it'd be kind of strange.
He needed IV nutrients because he wasn't absorbing anything through his gut after
A lot of
his
nausea.
transplant. He was
Yeah.
a double transplant survivor. So we are done with today. We thank you again for supporting the Healthy You Conference. Please look forward to and plan to attend every October in Jefferson City, Missouri, if you can. Next topic, what do you want to talk about?
Well, next week I plan to talk about the use of ketamine, specifically IV ketamine, in the use of chronic pain and refractory depression.
Nice. We'll see you again in our next video.
All right, so long everybody. Have a good day. Okay, ready? One. Get ready. You gotta be alert. You never get ready when you're doing that. You're not. This is what happened to our dance. Remember our routine? We messed up.
That's because we wore sunglasses.
Yeah.